Hey everybody! So we have got a beautiful day here in Maine, and we finally got some nice warm temperatures going on, and we are in the middle of one of our hands-on beekeeping class. We've got some students here today at Peter's home here in Hamden, and we've got a great class going on. So we are about to go out into Peter's bee yard here, where we have a few hives, and with some students, and show them some hands-on stuff. So let's go take a look.
So I put a little bit of smoke in the entrance. That's enough to be getting the ball rolling in terms of them eating the honey and that sort of thing. Starting to calm down. Now I've still got this laid out a bit as I would for the winter. Not entirely the way I'd have it laid out. I don't have a homosoap board on, but I do have a foam board up here. So this could really be, I could take this off now. Remember I mentioned I put these little bubble wrap things in? This is to stop the bees building comb up in this space, but they still could make use of the entrance in and out here. So I put that bubble wrap there. But we're gonna do without that. I'm gonna put this away. We're not gonna use that. And this is just an alternative for the wood cover. So, from the look of this, this is a hive where I have reversed the brood chamber. I can tell that because there's a little bit of mite treatment still up here, and that would have been down here before. So this was the top super, and this was the bottom super. And this was empty when I swapped it round probably about 10 days ago. So the cluster of bees that was here is also moving into here and occupying some of this middle space. So let's have a look. You can see how gentle they are. They're not jumping up at my hand or anything like that. And I'll give them a little bit more smoke. Notice there's a bit of a traffic jam of bees developing behind me. As we gradually get a little bit bigger and a little bit bigger, because I'm working kind of blocking the entrance here and you here. It's all traffic obstructions that they don't normally see. So they're wondering, okay, what's going on here? So you can see the cluster is predominantly in this area. So we're going to work from this side where there's virtually no bees. That way there's virtually no risk of damaging the queen bee or any other bees for that matter, because there's space over here to move these frames. So by just twisting the hive tool, I'll pry it open. I can use the J-hook element of the hive tool to lift. This frame is near empty. Remember, this was the bottom brood chamber, so there was very little food down here. There's a little bit of honey still here. You can see the honey there. This frame is still pretty much empty. They've got space to move into it. And I'll put this down here. Then moving a bit further in. Again, a bit of honey here. See how dark it's going to attract pollen all over it, but also the wax has been pressed so that it literally touches the honey underneath. But when they first build it, it often doesn't even touch the honey itself, so it's bright white. There's a little bit of food here. Again, they haven't expanded the brood chamber out to the edges here yet, so So now I've got lots of room to work with those two frames just to one side. We'll work our way in a bit. More bees on this frame. It's heavier, so there's more honey in it. And I can see a lot of glistening here, which looks like new honey to me, or new nectar that has come in. So that looks like freshly installed food. So we probably have had some small honey flows coming in. I mentioned about shaking it. We'll see if we can shake anything out. Although there's no brood here, I doubt I'll shake out much because this looks like it's mostly cured. But I'm going to try shaking it. Oh, look. Look at that. Now, for the last days of April, having a bit of a nectar flow is a real bonus. Because this is what really, pollen coming in is a real stimulus to brood production. Nectar coming in is just the other thing that they really need.
Cleaning it right up already.
Yeah, they're sucking that right up. So
If you listen closely, they're
here.
swearing.
Sorry?
I said if you listen closely, they're swearing at Peter. Right
Yeah,
now
they're
for jumping
shouting
at
abuse at me if they could.
Does that irritate them more when you do stuff like that?
Yeah, shaking them about.
I'm sure, but I mean,
We're
not
kind of
too bad.
anthropomorphizing with them, but now look at this. We've got some brood here. We've got the extension of the brood chamber. Remember, this was just combs put up top here roughly a bit over a week ago. But if you come closer, what you can see here is some nice big white larvae in here. And they're about 8 to 9 days old. And we'll come around with it. I'll move a little bit. See those white larvae in there? And they're nice and shiny. They look wet. That's because they're wet with royal jelly. That's what we want to see. And in another 2 days, maybe tomorrow, those cells will all be capped. And if we're looking even closer, around them are much smaller larvae. Some right down to about 4 or 5 day old larvae in the bottom corner. And the same on this side. Some brood. The comb wasn't built all the way, but what has been built, they've got brood in, right in there.
Beautiful.
Okay, so we're on the edge of the brood chamber. That's one frame of brood. This sort of weather is so good for the bees in the spring.
Are these Italians?
These are Saskatchewans, I believe. Then we've got some young larvae here. They're a bit younger than the last ones we looked at. Exactly the same thing here as well. So, very similar to the other frame. You see the different colors of bees in here. We have some where the father is clearly probably more Italian, like that one. We've got some more dark ones, with kind of three whitish stripes. So we've got quite a broad cross section of colors in there amongst the bees. Now, can anyone see the queen? She is on this frame.
It's your first test.
The queen walks around with more of a purpose to her.
I see.
I think I see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to point her out. She's right here. And every now and again she stops and has a look inside the cells. I'm going to try and keep this frame over the hive just in case she fell off. And there she goes over the bottom.
And then back over towards you.
And back. And she's wondering, why is it so bright in the hive right now? But sometimes you can just watch her and just she'll stick her bum right in there and lay another egg in the hive, in the cells.
Is that as seeded in succession?
A queen cup.
Oh,
It
yeah.
is it's the precursor to a queen cell, this here. And it's absolutely normal that they will build them. What it's worth looking at is, are they doing anything with it? It's brand new, but there's nothing in it. There's no egg, there's no larvae. So that's not a supersedure cell, it's just a precursor to one. But if they should make one there, I'll just let them get on with it. She's still right here now. So that wasn't a swarm cell or a queen cell yet. But it could end up being one. But they'll have those all over the hive all the time. Usually they'll put them along here. Sometimes they'll be anywhere on the frame. Still wandering around. See how purposefully she's walking around the hive, whereas most of the other bees are staying pretty much, they've got a job to do with it where they are right now. So now that we've found the queen, this is the perfect opportunity to do a mite check. Because we know that if we keep her to one side, we can get another frame with bees on and not have to worry about where the queen is. So, do I have a new box around here?
Yep.
Yep. If you grab one of those
Yeah, okay.
Cover.
now we can play with these. Okay, yeah, let's put it over. So, we've got the surface here. We have this kit here. And as opposed to using alcohol, another good equivalent would be Dawn liquid, dishwashing liquid. It's about a tablespoon per gallon of the Dawn liquid here. Because that will do exactly the same thing the alcohol will at about 1/10 of the cost. So that's not a bad idea, but there's a slight difference in the technique that you'd use to check the bees. Now, what we do when we're doing a mite test is we're going to get 1/2 cup of bees. There's a 1/2 cup measure here. And it's very useful to have one of these tubs. Because what we're going to do is tip the bees into here, scoop them up, put them in there and put the lid on pretty quick so they don't get out. But what we're going to do is we're going to put them in this tub first. And say, for example, you didn't find the queen. And you want to be really careful so that you don't sample the queen. Well, the precaution that you would take is, number one, you'd look at the frame very carefully and you'd examine it for about a minute. And if there's two of you, maybe both of you examine it for about a minute, saying, okay, I'm convinced there's no queen on here. Also, what I want is a frame with brood on it. Now, this frame does not have brood on it. It's got plenty of honey. So we know the queen's not on here at the moment. So right now, I'm going to tip this into here, along with some of the nectar. What we want is the frames that have brood on, because that's the ones that have the young bees on. They're the ones looking after the brood. They're the most recent representation of what mite levels are in the brood. So ideally, we want young bees in our sample. And we'll find those wherever we've got young brood because they're busy looking after this brood. And notice how a lot of bees flew out. The ones that stay behind, they don't fly much, if at all, because they're young bees themselves. So in effect, what we're doing is we're making sure that all we've got in here is young bees. So the older ones are flying up in the air at the moment. And if I stand to one side, they're going to start going into the entrance there. But now we've got a thing full of bees, and if we hadn't found the queen, what we'd do is look now, because some are going up the sides here. We do some. First of all, a lot of the bees flew out, That reduces it down to about half. Then about half the bees go up the sides of the container. The queen doesn't do that. She stays pretty much in the middle. So, and then we check it really carefully. We still see no queen. Chances of us sampling the queen now are almost zero. We now know we go actually zero because we've got it over there. But had we not found the queen, this is how we can find out, to be sure. There's a few bees here that don't know where they live. So now I'm going to also look at the interesting behavior here. See how they're sticking their butts in the air and they're opening a little gland on their tail end and they're releasing scent. They're saying, we're here, we're here. And so other bees will join them, but that is like a come here pheromone that the bees are releasing. But we're now going to sample them. Sorry, girls. So we'll get them down into the corner. A quick scoop. They go in there, and the cover goes on. So now these can go back. Put the lid on. And as opposed to shaking violently like that with alcohol, with the Dawn liquid, what I do is swirl it. Otherwise you just get all sorts of foam in there, and the mites get caught in the foam and they'll sort of rise up there. Whereas if we do this, the mites will gradually just get washed off, and they get washed into the liquid down here. What we're looking for is to see how many mites are still in this hive, having survived the winter and started reproducing in the brood again. And we'll do this for about a minute. And we might have 0, we might have 3 or 4, we might have more than that. If we've got more than that, I'm going to be doing an early spring mite treatment. And given that this yard in particular had mite issues last year, but I think that was because we've got a lot of neighboring bee yards around here. But let's see now. I see no mites. We can see the odd little bit of stuff down in here, but none of these are mites. Or is there one? There's a possibility that this is a mite here. It's about the size of a pinhead. I'll allow you to pass this one down. But there's very few mites. So one in a sample of 6, of where the threshold is 6, one is pretty good.
Now, if you have a hive that's dead, like mine is, would you sample it for mites or would they be
You
dead?
can, and it gives you some indication, but not a very accurate one, because a lot of the mites drop off the view when they're dead as well.
Okay.
So yeah, you can sample up the dead bees and sample them that way.
Yeah, I was just curious.
Yeah. So that's great. Very low mite levels at the moment, and roughly, if we've got that with us every time we go in the yard, and now and again we find the queen, the perfect opportunity to do your mite check. And if you can get a sample in, if you've got 2 hives, if you can try and sample at least one of the hives at least every month, that'll give you some indication. If you can sample a bit more frequently than that, like both of them every month, so much the better. When you start reaching 4 or 5 mites, be ready. I wouldn't even hesitate to treat early rather than waiting for the 6. It all depends on what time of year it is, and what we want to do is avoid them getting up to 10s and 12s and 20s and more. So we don't really need to go through the whole hive, but we'll put some more. We'll put these back in, and we'll just have a quick look at what's going on down below, so we can see what more mature brood is. Because these frames were only vacated and put where the bees can make use of them about a bit over a week ago, they've only just got to the point where there's 8-day-old larvae. So the queen got up there and they've got 3 frames with 8-day-old larvae in there. No, I think there's only one 9-day-old one and one pupating one. So they just got into this frame, but they're already occupying 3 or 4 of them, which infers that the ones below has got a lot more mature brood down here. So we're gonna have a look at that. Now, just to make a bit of room, I'm gonna put the telescopic cover over here this way up. I'll take this super, going to put that on top of it. And this way, it's not squishing bees on the ground. There's air underneath, the bees can still move around okay. I'm going to take the queen and make sure she goes in. Just make sure she's not gone onto the lid. But she has not. She should still be on this frame. And I'd like to just confirm it, and there she is right here. After a while you get to spot the queen pretty quick. So we know she's still here, so I'll carefully put her in here. And this is a frame with brood, so we want that next to the frames of brood here. These were on the outside edges, just had food in them. So I'm going to move these back to where they were. So we still know they've got plenty of room to get in here. Within another week, there'll be 3 times as much brood in there. Now we're going to have a little peek down below. Avoid gassing everyone. Tell you what, now I've got this here. Now I've got all that heat. Yeah, that feels okay. So, again, I'd expect it looks like the brood is predominantly in this area here. So we'll check that. No, it's just not going to sit straight. This is a comb that really needs to be replaced, because once the bees have not drawn out that foundation, they won't unless we recoat this with wax. So if I took this to the barn, melted a bit of wax and took a little paint roller and coated this foundation, they'll build that comb out beautifully. If you have stuff like this, they'll never build on it until we've got more wax on there. Frame mostly honey, but some nice pollen here. These different colored pollens, the greens, the yellows, and the oranges. That's all fresh pollen. Again, some building to be and repair work to be done on this side. Honey here. I've got some young brood here. This whole area is full of very young brood. A few days old, well, a few days since hatching. So very, very young stuff in there. Now we're into the area where that cluster was mostly. And here we have some capped brood. A mixture of drone brood and worker brood. That's drone brood, correct. See lots of worker brood here. This time of year, the brood pattern can look a bit spotty because there may still be pollen, there may still be food in there. Yep, we've got a lot of pollen around here and here, fresh pollen. And the bees will be starting to emerge from this brood, which is older than the brood that we saw before. Yeah, we hopefully will see some probably in the next frame. I'd say this is probably in the 12 to 15 day old brood, I would say here, would be my guess. It's a good sign they want to raise a few drones. They're getting stronger. And of course they want drones flying for about 3 weeks before they could swarm. Okay. Now let's see what we've got here. This is older brood. Do I see one emerging? Not on this side, not yet. Let's see what the other side's like. No, a fair amount of young brood in there. don't see any emerging ones, but again, surrounded by pollen, bit of worker brood, a drone brood. Oh, here's a drone brood emerging right now. A drone coming out of the cell right here. See how big his eyes are compared to the workers. So he was 24 days old, which also infers that these empty cells here are recently emerged bees. And the recently emerged bees tend to be more silvery in color. We've got the odd drone walking around the frame, so some of the drones have all emerged.
So there you have it. Like I said, we're in the middle of our hands-on class. We're actually outside. We had classroom earlier this morning, and now we're out actually playing with the girls. This is one of the best part, is to see people for the first time getting a look inside a hive. We actually have some Beekeeping 24/7 members here as well that made the trip. So I hope you guys are all having a good day. We're having fun here. Take care.